When someone disrespects you, betrays your trust, or crosses a boundary, your instinct might be to react, to explain yourself, to defend your character. But understand this, when you react, you hand over your power. The moment you engage in emotional chaos, you become a player in their game, and that's exactly where they want you, because the louder you react, the more they know they still have a hold on you. But silence is a force they can't predict, control, or interpret, and that's why it's the most powerful move you can make. There is an immeasurable strength in choosing not to respond. It is not weakness, it is not avoidance, it is self-mastery. When you react, you're often coming from a place of ego, a place of hurt, or a need to be understood. But here's the truth. Not everyone deserves your explanation. Not everyone is entitled to your emotions. Silence, when intentional, sends a message no words ever could. It says, you no longer have access to my mind, my peace, or my presence. And those who sought to provoke you will feel the weight of your absence far more than the noise of your reaction. You must begin to understand that not everything requires a response. Not every insult, not every slight, not every disappointment needs to be met with a reaction. Most people will never admit it, but they thrive off the energy you give when you're upset. They feed off the drama. They enjoy the emotional tug of war. And the more you fight to be heard, to be right, or to be vindicated, the more you drain yourself of the very peace they came to disrupt. Do not let them win that game. Refuse to be baited. Master your emotions to the point where your silence becomes your shield. It takes discipline to be calm when chaos is calling your name. It takes growth to choose stillness when the noise around you is screaming for your attention. The person who walks away silently is not running, they are rising. Rising above pettiness, rising above the need for validation, rising above the cycle of emotional dependency that keeps people locked in toxic loops. Every time you choose not to respond, you are practicing power. And the more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. Let me tell you this, the world does not reward those who scream the loudest. It rewards those who move strategically, quietly, with purpose. It's easy to react. Anyone can do that. But to pause, to remain centered, that requires a level of inner strength that only the disciplined know. The ones who cannot provoke you cannot control you. And the moment someone realizes that their chaos no longer disturbs your peace, they begin to lose their grip. You become unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. Think about how much energy people waste explaining themselves to those who have already made up their minds. Think of the countless arguments that go nowhere, the time wasted on people who were never listening to begin with. You don't owe them your voice. You don't owe them your pain. Walk away quietly. Let them wonder. Let them sit in the silence and face the absence of your energy. Silence cuts deeper than any insult. Why? Because it leaves people with themselves, with their thoughts, with their guilt, with the echo of what they did, and no response to soften the impact. People can argue with your words. They can twist them, dismiss them, ignore them, but they cannot argue with silence. They cannot manipulate what isn't given. They are forced to face themselves, and for many, that's the loudest sound of all. There will be people in your life who thrive off conflict, people who expect a show, people who believe they can control your narrative by pushing your buttons. But when you give them nothing, no reaction, no closure, no attention, they are left with a mirror. Let them stare. Your silence will say everything. Silence is not passive, it is intentional. It is a decision to rise above, to remove yourself from situations that no longer serve your growth. It is a rejection of chaos and an embrace of peace. You owe it to yourself to protect your mind, your spirit, and your future from the weight of unnecessary reactions. Remember this. Your power lies not in what you say, but in what you choose not to. And when you learn to walk away quietly, with dignity and control, you become untouchable. They may not understand your silence today, but they will feel its impact tomorrow. Cut them off silently. We live in a world that constantly demands our attention. Notifications, conversations, arguments, distractions, it's all noise. And what most people don't realize is that every single time you give your attention to something, you're spending energy, real energy, mental, emotional, spiritual. It's like money leaving your account bit by bit. And if you're not intentional with how you spend it, you'll find yourself bankrupt, drained, frustrated, and wondering why you feel so tired, so lost, so far from yourself. Now, imagine this. Someone disrespects you. Someone lies, cheats, manipulates, gaslights, betrays. You feel the sting of it, the temptation to confront them, to make them understand what they did, to prove a point. It burns hot. You want to speak your truth, but ask yourself, what are you really buying in that moment? What is the return on that investment? Because every ounce of energy you pour into trying to correct someone who never cared to be right in the first place is energy you're stealing from your own healing, your own growth, your own peace. You must start treating your energy like currency because it is. It fuels your thoughts, your focus, your ambition, your clarity, and not everyone deserves access to it. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every conflict is worthy of your presence. You have to start filtering where your energy goes, the same way a wealthy man guards his fortune. You don't spend on liabilities. You invest in assets and people who drain you, people who constantly need to be explained, corrected, or defended against. They are emotional liabilities. Now, here's where people get it wrong. They think silence means defeat. They think if they walk away, if they disengage, they're letting the other person win. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's choosing to preserve your energy for the things that actually matter. Your purpose, your vision, your peace. Because every moment you spend entangled in someone else's chaos is a moment you've stolen from your own clarity. They want your reaction because it feeds them. Your anger, your confusion, your need for closure. It energizes them. That's how some people survive. They live off the drama, the attention, the control. But you weren't made for that cycle. You were made to rise. And rising requires silence, detachment, cutting ties without the ceremony, the confrontation, or the long-winded explanations, just a clean break, a quiet exit. The truth is, you teach people how to treat you by what you allow. If someone crosses a line and you respond with drama, they know they can keep you emotionally hooked. But if they cross that line and all they get is silence, disconnection, distance, nothing, they feel the consequence, not in words, but in presence. And that absence, that's where your power lives, because they can't argue with silence. They can't twist it. They can't use it against you. It just is. And that's what makes it so powerful. So stop spending your energy trying to change people who don't want to be changed. Stop explaining your worth to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. You don't need their understanding. You need your peace. You need your focus. That's what you're building. An internal life so strong, so calm, so untouchable that no one can shake it. I've seen people exhaust themselves emotionally and spiritually chasing closure, hoping for that one final conversation where everything will be understood, healed, fixed. But let me tell you something. Closure is often just a trap. It keeps you tethered to people who already showed you who they are. It keeps your energy in the past. You don't need a long goodbye. You don't need the final word. What you need is silence, space, distance, peace. That is the real closure. Protect your energy like it's your lifeline, because it is. The more you give it to the wrong people, the less you have for the things that matter. And once your energy is gone, your vision becomes cloudy. Your goals start to fade. Your inner fire dims. That's the cost. And it's far too high to keep paying for temporary emotions or toxic connections. You'll start to see your life shift the moment you stop explaining yourself, stop reacting, and start preserving your energy. You'll gain clarity, confidence, a calm that can't be disturbed, and people will notice. They'll wonder why they can't get to you anymore, why their drama no longer works. And the truth will be simple. You're no longer investing in what drains you. You're investing in what builds you. Cut them off silently. We've been conditioned to believe that healing comes with a conversation, that we need to sit down, look someone in the eyes, and tie every loose end before we can move on. That closure is some sort of magical door we need to walk through before peace can find us. But let me ask you, how many times have you gone back hoping for clarity and left feeling even more confused, more hurt, more broken? How many times did you open that door only to discover it led nowhere? Closure is a beautiful idea, but it's also a dangerous illusion when it becomes a dependency. You think you need their explanation. You think you need their apology. You wait, hoping they'll finally acknowledge the pain they caused, admit they were wrong, or at least understand where you were coming from. But most of the time, they don't. And even if they do, it rarely changes how you feel, because the wound they gave you can't be healed by the same hands that caused it. Peace doesn't come from them. It comes from you. It comes from the decision to stop chasing what you're never going to get. It comes when you no longer need answers to accept what happened, when you realize that the only validation you truly need is your own. You saw the truth. You felt the shift. You recognized the moment they stopped treating you with care. That's all the closure you need. You don't need to sit in rooms that don't feel safe just to make someone else comfortable. You don't have to keep explaining your heart to people who've already made a decision about you. You don't have to reopen wounds for the sake of talking it out. Healing is not always loud. Sometimes it's in the quiet decision to walk away and never look back. No words, no final speech, just a calm goodbye, wrapped in silence. People will try to convince you that walking away without a conversation is immature, that you owe it to them to sit down and rehash the past. But sometimes the most mature thing you can do is let them wonder. Let them sit with the version of events they created. Let them deal with the absence of your presence. You don't need to participate in their story anymore. You're writing your own now. There is power in choosing peace over closure. Peace doesn't demand anything. It doesn't need to prove a point or win an argument. It just exists. It sits quietly inside you, unbothered, untouchable, unmoved by what no longer aligns with your growth. And when you finally stop seeking peace from other people, you find the kind of peace that no one can take away. The longer you wait for someone else to give you closure, the longer you stay connected to their chaos. You put your healing on hold, waiting for the perfect ending that's never going to come. And the truth is, most people aren't capable of giving you what you're looking for. Some people will never understand the damage they caused. Some don't care, and some knew exactly what they were doing and did it anyway. So, what are you waiting for? Give yourself permission to move on without their apology, without the big talk, without the final scene. You are allowed to outgrow people and never explain why. You are allowed to protect your peace without justifying your silence. Sometimes the lesson isn't in the goodbye. It's in the staying gone. And sometimes the healing doesn't come from the other person changing. It comes from you accepting that they never will. You owe it to yourself to stop bleeding in places where there's no bandage, to stop begging for understanding in conversations that only end in more confusion. Some chapters end quietly, without warning, without closure. That doesn't mean your story is unfinished. It means it's time for a new one. You don't need anyone's permission to walk away. You don't need the final word. You don't need to announce your departure. Just go, quietly, cleanly. Let your absence speak the truth your words never could, that you chose peace, that you chose growth, that you chose yourself. Cut them off silently.